All right, here we go. I'm gonna do a mic check real quick. This is kind of a new format for us. So first of all, welcome to Xbox Talks number 56. Holy cow, when are we ever gonna stop? We don't know. We just keep going, and it's just always Xbox news to discuss, right? So let me introduce Kevin Korkenstein. How you doing over there, guy?
Hey guys, how's everyone doing? Yeah, we're on a brand new platform. We're on the YouTubes. The YouTubes.
Definitely a little bit of a change of pace for us. So if you're not aware, we used to host this show on X or Reddit Talks was the name of the client. We've done it for almost a year and a half now. Lots of you have joined us. We've made a lot of friends in the community directly. It's nice to be able to talk to you all kind of face to face and if you will, even though we're not really face to face, but to get that kind of chat back and forth. It's just a little more friendly when it's in person like this. So a couple weeks ago, we were met with the unfortunate news that they were pulling Reddit Talk from Reddit completely. Reddit's in a bit of a maybe a reconstruction phase, as the indication that if you follow behind the scenes that we've been kind of getting, they're looking to simplify things and kind of build out from there. So they're bringing a lot of these extra uh, clients and perks, and RPN was another one that they brought away if you were familiar with that. So, long story short, in the end, we kind of we adapted. So we brought it over here to YouTube. We're really happy to see some familiar names already in the comments below and joining us, and
Yeah.
we're just excited to be here. So I'll quit rambling on about this, but like I said, the bottom line is we're still here, and we got a lot to talk about today. So
Yeah, I mean, it's sad news. Like I said, when you were mentioning it, I was like, this is the part where I would use the sad trombone feature on Reddit Talks to the womp womp womp,
sure.
but we don't have that feature anymore. It's we're pretty bummed out about it, but where a window closes or a door closes, a window opens, however that saying goes. But yeah, let's introduce the rest of the beautiful people here on this podcast today. We have Mikey J. Raymond.
We do. He's over there.
He's
Oh,
muted,
oh,
I think.
oh, I muted myself. Hello,
Wow, a
hello.
rookie move on the on
Wow.
the new client.
Oh,
Did you give us a famous hello, hello? I didn't. Just give it to us because
hello, hello.
there
I
he
think I
is.
did.
Now my life is complete.
And we also got Moco Worm Anthony.
Hi guys. How you doing? Dialing in from the UK on an exciting UK news week.
Yeah,
Excited for
Yeah,
making
this
some news
one.
over there on the old island,
We
huh?
have, we
that
have,
that strongly
which will
worded letter I told you to send worked.
absolutely, absolutely. We'll dig into that, I'm sure.
Yeah, that was not what I expected to wake up to this morning, but I sure did. And I think the other big news of the last few weeks has been Diablo beta, and we're looking to get some impressions on that. So feel free to drop a comment. We have Reddit Premium to get out if you're on the Reddit watching us on the Reddits. Is that like the YouTubes? And then we have
The
some prize ball
Reddits.
games. We're here for the community participation, so we want to get you guys involved in any way we can. I will start off, and somebody already left a comment. Anonymous Baractor is already complaining about the Diablo queue times, and they said 2 minutes left on my 37-minute queue. Then it suddenly hit me with a disconnect, and guess what? 37-minute queue again. It's a nightmare story
Ooh.
if you're excited and waiting to play the game. And I feel for you. Last week was very similar, even with the limited number of people, unless you bought that KFC sandwich, you monster. Um, anyways, and we still had the same issues. They had long queues the first day. I don't know if we're going to follow that same pattern this week. I will say that by Saturday, many of you know things got a lot better. So let's keep our fingers crossed, because I know a lot of people want to play this game. So thanks, Baractor. We feel for you.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been able to start it up yet today, but yeah, the last time I remember playing, yeah, it was a pretty brutal wait time, and I get his sentiment, but you got to think this is probably millions are probably trying to get online all at the same time, and when you start doing this stuff, you can never ever truly be prepared on what you actually need. What problems are going to arise because you have maybe a QA team of what 40, 50 people, and there's no way to simulate millions and millions of people trying to hit a server all at once. They got tools for it, but it'll never be exactly the same. So when you go from small scale testing to large scale testing, this is the kind of issues and stuff that you'll end up seeing. So while it's frustrating, at least now they know the hype behind it. They know I mean, I don't see any excuse on launch for these issues to happen.
If only Blizzard had released multiple massive multiplayer titles in the past or something to know how to do the server load. I think they just have less servers because it's a beta. Um, I think they know that, but they're just not gonna turn them all on right now.
I mean, it
I
could
don't
also
know.
be intentional. This could be a bug
Yeah.
test. See what issues arise, see what
Oh,
happens, and how to fix them
Is
while it's live.
there a case to be made here that this is an open beta and it's cross-platform, especially this weekend, that we might be seeing player counts that are even higher than that are going to be there on day one because people are using this for a demo. Anybody can get in, and like I said, we're on PlayStation, we're on PC, we're on Xbox. Like this has to be a massive player count. We heard that during the first weekend, 1 million people made it to level 20. They didn't just dabble in. They didn't get to the queue and quit.
Yeah.
They got there and they went for it. And
Well-
the level 20 is an investment, so people really want in on this game.
I don't know if it's geographical, but I played on. It released on Thursday, didn't it? The first one. I played on Friday, and I had no wait time at all. It was Friday evening UK, and I just logged straight in. So I don't know if it's a load balancing thing or whether it's USA or I don't, not sure. Or whether I just got lucky. I don't know.
I think there's definitely different server bases, so your experience probably varied depending on what region you're in. But I know for a fact that Diablo is insanely popular in Europe and in North America alike. So I don't think it really mattered where you were. But like I said, your experience might be a little different. Did everybody up here get a chance to play that Diablo 4 beta? I know, Mikey, you said
Yeah,
well, I
not
mean,
not as much as you. I played up until I didn't play very much. I played the whole first section, having never played a Diablo game before in my life. So I played the whole first section. I got up to the first boss, I suppose, at the end of that first dungeon, and it was pretty late, and I got wiped out by him, and I haven't played. That's as far as I got. I haven't played since, but I will. I will definitely. I liked what I saw. It looks great. Like the graphics in the game and the feel to it, the vibe. It was really pulled me in, even in the small time I spent. It's great.
Nice. Yeah, I got to about level 20 on there. Well, 23. I was helping some people. I just wanted to get the beta rewards and stuff like that. So that was a little that was fun. I mean, I everything I played, it was nice, smooth. I never really other than the server login issues, but even playing, once I was in, I was in. It was smooth.
Yeah.
Everything leveled nicely. Um I did notice a lot of legendary drops, but that is actually intentional. I guess Jez said they said they wanted to do that to see how the feature worked and to
How
kind of get
good?
a baseline
yep,
on drops.
yeah.
I was
So
going to say
there,
sorry, I was going to say how good did it look? Like, were you impressed with the visuals? I mean, I was. It was so crisp and so everything was so detailed. I mean, I was running through sort of like rooms and passages which were inconsequential, but it just looked fantastic. Like they put so much detail into the world.
there is a lot of detail, absolutely. I think at the camera angle with the isometric game like this, it's not doing justice to just how detailed the visuals are. It's pretty crazy, really, when you think about it. And sometimes they'll do like a pan down, like it's kind of like a cinematic, and they'll get to ground level, and that's when you really start to see how detailed everything is. Or if you're doing the armor swap on your character in that screen, or your social screen when your character is really up there in full resolution and not from that that isometric angle, you can just see how there's just so much detail and everything. But it's not just the characters; it's the environment too.
Yeah.
When you're
Reminiscent of did you ever see the video of the Ascent when they unlocked the camera and they threw
yeah
it around and
yeah
it
the
Mhm.
looked unbelievable, and it was things you would never see in the game because of the angle. You would never actually sort of there was no need for it to be that brilliantly detailed, and yet the effort was put in, and it
yeah, the
did.
Ascent was a beautiful
Yeah.
game. Yeah, whatever your opinion of the gameplay and all that was, I know you really loved it. I know a lot of people really enjoyed that one. So also a very stunning game with the same type of camera angle. But it's insane. I mentioned in a comment earlier today that I wished there was a photo mode. I wish as I
Yeah.
was rolling around, I could drop the camera and move it around like you can do in some games, you know. And I don't know if the graphics are going to hold up under that kind of scrutiny, but it sure feels like they would because it's a beautiful game. I think the
Oh yeah.
biggest compliment I can give it, and at first I wasn't really sure, you know, it felt like Diablo. It's very familiar and kind of grinding away, but boy, did my entire weekend disappear last weekend. Just 2 straight days of Diablo. I made it to level 25 and finished the main story quest. I'm surprised at just about how much content there is in this. I've looked at the map, and from what I can see, that it's explorable. I've only touched about half of it, and that's all you'll play through if you do the story quests that are provided. There's just a lot more to explore, and this weekend we have the 2 new classes with Necromancer and help me out here, the Druid.
Druid.
Yep, the beast mode. So,
So
uh,
when I just said I have no previous experience of Diablo, and you're obviously a huge Diablo fan. How does it stand up? You know, is it a good Diablo? If that makes sense.
from my
Just from
personal
yeah,
opinion, yes.
you know, as the next Diablo game, is it, you know, is it above? Is it a move step beyond, you know, the
Well,
last?
let me say this. I saw some complaints from purists. This always happens with older franchises, Star Wars, anything you name it. And what they said is this
Halo.
doesn't feel like yes, this doesn't feel like Diablo. It feels like a WoW clone that's isometric. And
Oh,
I replied, "Sign me up, please. Where do I get this? Because that sounds fantastic." So I think there's going to be some people that might have some mechanic complaints and playstyle complaints. They're worried about the battle pass and that kind of stuff. And also to those people, I would say, well, look at Diablo 3, which didn't have that kind of support. There wasn't a lot of new content for that game. So somebody who wants to stick with this game and doesn't want to run the same treadmill every 6 months, that battle pass is going to support the new content. I love the social aspect of it. I love are they called clans? We already have a social system for grouping up. I love the potential for PvP. This game has a lot going on. I know that they have focused on the end game. They've mentioned this from way back when that's why they're
Mhm.
delaying. They want to make sure that when players get maxed out, that there's something to do. We've seen games fall to that trap before, where it was great until you got to the end and people were just like, "Whoa, this is nothing to do here." So it remains to be seen if they can deliver on that. But obviously, I'm all in. I'm over the moon about it.
Well,
Yeah, it's. Oh, go ahead, Mikey.
I was gonna say one of the things that Diablo 3 did so poorly, because I was there at launch on my PC, and there was no endgame content. Forget the auction house they decided to throw in where you could buy $600 legendary items. It was one of those games that just you got to the end and it's like, all right, well, I'm just gonna keep grinding the story and my character's max, and now I grind for gear to do what? There was nothing to accomplish until much later. So it's good that they're focusing on that end game, and I've heard nothing but positive news or positive reviews from people who have played the end game because I know some of their closed betas and alphas were focused on that end game, and people said they loved it. So that's actually really good that they're focusing on that, because otherwise the game will be dead, just like
Oh yeah.
Diablo 3 was until they reinvented stuff.
Sure. And even then, like other than the expansion there, it became Diablo 3 was fun. But I would take, I would skip seasons and then just dabble back into it, like and revisit it. But it's not something that was going to keep me hooked. Like I'm nonstop playing this game, and Diablo 4 has that potential. It's a little scary for me as a former WoW addict. This could go a lot of different ways, so we'll see how that goes. We see Q in the YouTube comments
Yeah,
says
that's
that
my buddy.
Diablo 4 beta is great as a first time Diablo player. So this is somebody who's never gone through the
yeah,
previous entries,
agreed.
and they seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I helped him get to level 20 so I could help him get his beta stuff. We
Oh,
played late on that Sunday last week. Really great guy. We have our own clan. You mentioned it too. I was going to say the clan stuff. I'm actually surprised it's in the beta. I mean, it worked pretty well. We had some issues trying to get people in to the actual game. But once we got him in, everything we were able to jump in almost flawlessly into each other's games. We're able to pal around. We didn't see any major issues with latency or netcode or any of that. Yeah, it was a great feature. We have the Windows Central Gaming Battle Shrimp clan is what we call ourselves, and yeah, it's pretty fun.
that's
So I have
funny.
a question.
He wants to be no
So
fan.
first of all, let me just preface this with I have not played the beta yet because I did not pre-order. So we're gonna play the open beta this, and I cannot play without my wife. She'd kill me, and rightfully so, because she's beat the game on hardcore mode or whatever. She has all the achievements for Diablo 3. So if I played without her, I am probably a divorced man next week. Uh, so with that said, um,
That's serious.
with that said, is there? I've heard some complaints about the barbarian, for example, and going back to Diablo 3, one of the most broken characters was the Crusader. So another melee character. People seem to want the barbarian to do more damage than it currently does. But from what the gameplay I've watched, and I've watched a lot, it seems to be much tankier.
Yeah.
And maybe are so my question is, are these like levels within the beta itself, are they lowered, or can you go all the way to like um the monster level 10 like you could in Diablo 3? Because I feel like that health pool is going to come in and be helpful in higher levels of content, and you're going to need something like a true tank in this game. It feels like they did a better class structure than everyone can do a whole bunch of damage.
Yeah, there's a weird thing with Diablo is that we don't get the Holy Trinity because there's not really a healing class. So the barbarian is not only the tank, they're the meat shield and whatever they can do to mitigate damage. It might not be direct heals, but they're there to soak it up. So you're right there. Some of the early complaints are class balance. I was actually going to ask Kevin, what was the combo that you and Q ran in your playthrough?
So he was barbarian, I was sorcerer.
Hmm.
Sorcerer was insanely overpowered.
Yeah.
Um, by the end of it, yeah, I was just pretty much running in, just electric shocking everything and fire. And then at one point, I could probably hold down my fire. They incarcerate, and it's just this big old stream of fire that just constantly shoots out. I could just run around with that for like 10 seconds without waiting for it to recharge, just wrecking everything. He was barbarian, and it looked like he was holding his own. I don't think I ever saw him die. I never really got to play it, but it was actually a pretty funny moment. It was like that scene in Star Wars with Han Solo where he runs up and sees all the stormtroopers, and then you see him running back and he's chasing all of them. That's how it kind of was with him. Is all of a sudden I just see all these mobs of just enemies come running at me, and then here comes the barbarian chasing after him. It was actually a pretty funny moment. But yeah, I mean, I didn't see any issues with the barbarian. Maybe if he's still in chat, he can drop some comments about it. But yeah, the barbarian seemed fine. Sorcerer seemed fine. Um, all of it. Just I don't know. So far, I didn't really see many issues other than the sorcerer being overpowered.
Oh, he just replied. He said he was fine with how the barbarian played and did damage, but then again, I don't have the background of the previous games to know, and that's fair right there. So I'm just gonna weigh in with other people's comments that I've read because I played the sorcerer. It's just I love the laser beams, and that's always my first class. And you're right there. That electrocute move, I don't the shocking
Mhm.
one that bounces between you and the mob. It gets
The
a
chain lightning.
there you go. It gets a 25% damage bonus when it bounces off you, and it just
Yeah.
goes back and forth. You just melt things, and it's kind of silly. So the comments I saw were people that played solo. They played as barbarian, found it very difficult to defeat certain bosses, but when they went to sorcerer, it felt like easy mode to them. So
Yeah.
at least playing by yourself, that probably gives you an indication of the power of the different classes and even maybe survivability, which is something that Blizzard addressed, and they said that's why the beta's here. So go out there and fill it out, and we have two new classes to add to the mix, and I have a feeling that the druid is going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I am excited to play. Hopefully, fingers crossed with all those queue time issues.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely looking forward to check out the Necromancer too. I kind of liked what they added in Diablo 3. It was a later game addition. That's part of the restructuring and end game stuff that Mikey kind of brought up with Diablo 3. But yeah, I'm really excited. Like I said, I can't wait to jump back in and play this game.
Yeah, the big testament, and like I said, is that time melted away. I know a game's great when I look at the clock. I'm like, damn, it's 9:30, 11:30. I'm like, what just happened? I feel like I've been sitting here for 5 minutes, but the 2 hours blew by. That kind of thing. So get in there this weekend, everyone. I mean, if it's your thing, obviously it's not going to be for everyone, but watch those queue times. Maybe try later at night. Get in there and take a little taste of it because Boy, is it a yummy taste.
Oh yeah. If anyone needs some Sherpaing, hit me up. I will Sherpa you to 20.
There you
That
go.
was really weird phrasing, by the way.
Yeah.
What?
I'll play it back
For
and
what?
realize what I said later, or maybe it was Cork.
Sherpa?
No,
No, it was
no,
me.
what
Oh.
Foreman
Don't
said
worry.
about
Yeah.
taste.
Oh,
It
it's yummy. Scrum diddly umptious.
like I said, I'll play that back later and be like, man, did I say that? We're gonna. Is that good? Did you guys have anything else you wanted to close on, other than you probably want to get in there and play it?
Tonight, I'm setting up the couch and stuff. Is split screen in the beta?
Co-op is.
Co-op is, but no
Co-op?
split screen.
Oh, it's not.
I don't believe
you
so.
can't run away from each other, so you're both going to be hanging on the same screen. There are some improvements on console over Diablo 3. You can both open your inventory at the same time. You actually could not do that in couch co-op on Diablo 3, and what a pain in the butt, you know. One person would be setting their moves, and you're like, okay, come on, and then you would do yours, and they're doing the same thing. And if you're like me, you're tweaking your character every 5 minutes. So, and this one you can do that, and if you're doing that and the other player is running, you just kind of get dragged along. Like you'll phase right to them, so they can move and be doing stuff while you're setting up your equipment or whatever. So there's not that battle for waiting and screen time and that kind of thing. So it plays pretty nicely, but you do have to kind of hang in the same area.
Q
Okay.
also says, "Yep, couch co-op's in there." I didn't think it was, but yep, it is.
Interesting. Yeah, when we first played it, we had a trouble starting parties. There were those error messages the first day, and we couldn't even get couch co-op to work. My last closing comment on this is my Xbox Series X has never made those sounds before. Like after 15 minutes of play, like I have never heard that fan hit that level. I've played a
Really?
lot of different games on the thing. Uh, You can when people said they can heat a room with it, I was like, yeah, it puts off a lot of heat, but I've never felt it like this. I put my face in front of it. I turned it out just to make sure it was getting ventilation, and I looked like my hair was getting blown back, man. It was crazy. So make sure your Xbox has a lot of ventilation while you're testing this one out.
There we go.
So let's go. Let's go with this morning's
Let's
news,
do it.
right?
Yeah. let's
Yes,
do it.
this morning
Gear
news.
change.
Oh my goodness, that was not something I was expecting to wake up to, especially for Friday. The CMA pretty much was like, "Yeah, we messed up." Microsoft kind of pointed it out. Our mathematical error on this, and we find that it won't be anti-competitive. It wouldn't hurt. Um, yeah, it wouldn't hurt the market. That's a massive hurdle. Massive.
Wouldn't hurt console gaming
There
specifically.
we go. Console gaming. That's what I mean by the market as an overall. But yeah, wouldn't hurt console gaming. I mean, that's insane.
Which is
That was one of their biggest hurdles.
yeah, that's very dismissive of the Sony position and all of this. And of course, Sony has been asked to weigh in, and they has done so very vocally. But yeah, that was a really a big blow. It was such a blow that the stock jumped, and the sentiment really seemed to change. The narrative we see, people on Twitter. Don't go to Twitter if you can avoid it. It's crazy in there when you get into the game stuff. But we've seen some people kind of move from anger and protest to kind of this weird acceptance. They're still kind of upset about it, but they're starting to see this as something that is getting more and more realistic as a possibility, where they might have been holding out hope. And believe me, I understand on some level why people are frustrated with this and maybe scared about it and maybe not trusting Microsoft, but it definitely seems to be a reality now. This is if you're in the Xbox platform and you're excited about Blizzard and Call of Duty and all that stuff, it seems to be inching closer to what might come to be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think the biggest thing now that I guess the hurdle that they have to do is cloud gaming, um, which they've already taken active steps. You've already seen that hey, we're having this 10-year deal partnership, this 10-year deal partnership. I'm pretty sure we'll probably get a few more of those coming out the gate for cloud gaming. Honestly, it looks like this is a lock. It looks like EU will more than likely pass, CMA will more than likely pass, and it's just now up to the FTC, which I think Microsoft already said, hey, we're going to go ahead without the FTC approval if this goes by, because FTC's whack and they ain't got no they ain't got no excuses. They're pretty much just reiterating what everybody else has said, which we've already proven as false.
Did they say that?
Yeah, Microsoft. They said they would probably go ahead with the FTC. Let me see if I can find the
I've read
quote.
this, and I don't have a source for you, but I did read the same kind of thing that they
Oh,
Yeah.
would just go ahead and sue the FTC. I guess is what my takeaway was, and I definitely did not pour over this.
It's good
okay.
to
So
see. It's
they're calling FTC's bluff because the
yeah,
FTC hasn't filed in the federal court. They filed in their own court, which means the merger
Yep.
is not blocked. So
Yep.
okay. Um, what I was
it's
going to
good.
add with the CMA is Microsoft has committed to more deals with cloud gaming services. At this point, they've signed
Four,
four 10-year
yeah, four,
deals.
yeah,
One with
hmm
Nintendo, obviously, and then
Nvidia.
Nvidia and the two other smaller streaming services, which
Last
one of them actually streams to Switch.
yeah.
Nice.
So if people are
Well,
wondering how they could possibly get Call of Duty to run on Switch, there you go. Even though they said they could get it natively, news of Switch 2 coming in 2024, that would probably be a better targeted platform for them to get Call of Duty on natively. Um, and yeah, this was a big hurdle because once Microsoft provided their financials, the CMA came out and they're like, after reading the new evidence, Microsoft would take a huge loss if they ever made this game exclusive. It just does not make sense, which is what Microsoft has been touting since the beginning. So
Yep.
for an
yeah,
actual government body to come out and say that one of the big three, because we haven't had any of them say anything other than like Brazil and some smaller countries, was huge. Um, Looking at the evidence, you're right. We were wrong. We haven't
it's good
seen
to
anybody
see.
do that yet.
It's good to see facts win out, though, isn't it? When Microsoft went to Europe a few weeks ago, and we all sort of like cringed a little bit when we saw that board with the market share. Where it said, what was it, 98? But I can't remember the percentage. They had that pie chart with
98%
like,
is
yeah,
the
Sony,
number.
and it was kind of like, oh man, that's a, but facts are facts, and once they've looked at it,
It
you know,
it's a
it,
weird
it
thing
it's
because people really came at that 98%. They're like, "Oh,
yeah,
what kind of baloney is this?" But it's not Microsoft that set that number, is it?
no,
It was
no,
Well,
it was the regulators, I believe, right? When they were defining high-end console competition. And then additionally we bring that back, and what they're talking about is the Japanese market. And this was we're talking about the Washington senator, right?
no,
Yes.
I was gonna bring them up
yeah,
on how he was talking, I think, about the pie chart at the EU meeting after their
yeah,
closed doors meeting where like Jez and Tom Warren were at. But the Japanese market and and the senator, how the story is kind of turned on Sony. It's really weird to see, having actual senators come out and go, how have you let Sony dominate the market like this and allowing them to sign all these exclusive deals with other third party developers is beyond me. It was, I haven't seen Sony take a hit like that in the public eye in a long time from anything that wasn't a journalist, at least.
I mean, they've
yeah,
been riding pretty high for a while. But if you want to go back to like the cassette era and, and all that stuff, Sony used to muscle around in that industry, and especially with music and labels and signing artists and that kind of thing. But we're talking ancient history now at this point. Obviously, the market is digital now and video games, and Sony has had a great successful run here. It does seem like now, to me, it feels like competition's getting a little more equal. And I know people are like, well, Microsoft has 80 gazillion dollars and they dwarf Sony. But when I look at it, that's not what I see. I see the Xbox brand and PlayStation, because even though Microsoft has a gazillion dollars, we know that if Xbox starts bleeding money, it's not like it's a limitless coffers. Like, it has to be a profitable product. It has to be a feasible service, because one other thing we know about Microsoft is they will cut ties in a hurry if you are not, bringing in the money when it comes down to it in the end. So, it's just wow, what wild news this morning.
yeah. I mean, the exact quote from that senator was, she's saying about Japan blatantly allowing anti-competitive conduct by Sony, and then she poses a question which says, "What do you think we can do better to address these issues and create a level playing field?" Which basically is the footing for this deal to go through, right? It's like, this is how we create that better level playing field.
Yeah,
By
If I
people believe that this deal would give Microsoft an unfair advantage. and maybe in cloud gaming before all these deals they signed. But here's the difference. You look at the revenue from both of these companies in the gaming space, and if Xbox acquires acquisition, they are equal with Sony.
Yeah.
Either a little behind or a little ahead or equal. I can't remember which it is by final count lately. But how is that not truly competitive in that sense? It's not like they're going to surpass them
Mhm.
by twice the profit margin here. It's not like Xbox is currently on equal footing. They're not anywhere close to Sony. Sony has done a terrific job for decades, while Xbox has, they did the flip a switch thing and totally burned all their goodwill from Xbox 360, and they've been in the hole for over a decade now. And they honestly need something like this. They haven't been able to find success since then, and this just puts them on equal footing. Um, so how people have just said that, oh, it'll be a monopoly, blah blah blah. It really doesn't make a whole ton of sense at the end of the day when you just look at the revenue.
Yeah,
It
it
just
really
brings them up
doesn't.
with the other ones.
And that's the thing is, I mean, you even kind of mentioned it too. I think Sony kind of shot themselves in the foot on this one here. Um, like you said, they got senators now looking at them. I mean, they're the way that they handle their operation, their business is being looked at. If for those people that think like, oh well, Sony now needs to go get Ubisoft, Sony needs to go get Square Enix, Sony needs to go get Sega, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Sony will probably be heavily scrutinized after all the dirt has been shown
Do
to all
they
these regulation boards that
do they
nobody
still need?
here is
Sorry.
going to yeah, nobody here is going to be like, "Hey, yeah, it's okay. Sony can do whatever they want now because Xbox got that." That's not how that works. Sony still is the market leader, and
I
for
was
them
gonna.
to try and get a one up on acquisition, it's just not going to happen.
Do they still need to provide all this information that was subpoenaed or whatever the word is for it the other week? You
That
know
was
what?
the FTC, I
But
believe.
yes, they
Yeah,
So
yeah.
do.
yeah.
Do they still have to provide all that? Yeah, is that
Yep,
still coming?
because the CMA, the EU, and the FTC all separate cases
Right.
going on. The
Yeah.
FTC
So
is
Mhm.
going to FTC this thing until the end.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I do feel like if the EU, which has already expressed support, and the CMA kind of get in line and they're behind this, it's going to put the FTC in a who, if you really want to dig into it, I'm not going to get into it, but they're a cash strapped agency. They're begging for more funding right now.
yeah.
They There's a whole issue with electric utilities that they want to do studies on to see if we're Americans are getting gouged by electric prices, and they can't afford to do it. But meanwhile, they just
Yeah.
lost this case against Meta for
Yeah.
some weird app, and they're chasing Call of Duty, and a lot of people are just kind of like, and you're asking for more money, and they're just like, what's going on here? Please,
And it's
obviously
great.
we wish they had the resources to look at all these things closely, or maybe we don't, depending on where you stand.
Mhm.
But in the end, it seems like their priorities might be a little mixed up.
And it's great
Yeah.
to go after big tech. Like I get it. I get the sentiment. You want to change the world, especially Lisa Khan, but gotta pick your battles. You have to pick the right ones. The Meta one was just weird. For people
Mhm.
that don't know, they just tried to buy a fitness VR company or something for like 300 million. It was something really low. And the FTC went after them.
Yeah.
They were trying to invest to get some virtual fitness into Oculus, rather than just building their own. And that was their whole argument. That was the FTC's argument that they should just invest their own, make their own, and do that instead. Which isn't That's not the current law. That's not American law. There needs to be actual anti-competitive reasons, not just you have the money to do this the other way, so do that instead. Is not how the law works. So
Yeah.
it's a really weird case from the beginning. So they've just been going after big tech just to go after them. Whereas like there are some legitimate cases out there. Like look, like I bring up the Photoshop one, Adobe buying up the other competitor on the market. I haven't looked into that one for a while, but that's an actual anti-competitive buyout. They're buying the
Mhm.
only other competitor on the market for Photoshop and all these other services, and it's like, wow, how can you let that go through? It would be like Microsoft buying Sony. That would not
Right.
be okay.
Mhm.
Um, so you just want to see your tax paying your tax dollars go to good fights. go-to fights that make sense, that are at least somewhat winnable. Because by all accounts, lawyers and whatnot, nobody believes the FTC has a case, especially now that it's looking like it's going to pass through the CMA. The EU seems to be relenting. It's not. Stop wasting our money, because God knows we're already in debt.
I mean, we could.
Not
That's
to
a
use
whole
the
other
G
show.
word on a podcast. It's just how I talk sometimes. It's like, but man,
Can, can I interject real quick and just you mentioned buying Sony, and there's a lot of comments out there from people, and they're just like, well, what's to stop Microsoft now? If they can get away with this, they can do everything, and they can buy Sony. Sony can't be sold like that. The way Japan works, at least to my understanding, is that that would need government approval, and there's no way that Japan would ever approve of selling Sony to Microsoft or anybody else for that matter. It's such a Japanese centric brand. Like it's a national icon in a way over there. So there's a lot of reasons why that is never going to be a scenario. And as Microsoft Xbox fans or as fans of gaming, you shouldn't want that to happen. The scorched earth people. Go ahead, Mikey. I'm sorry. I just jumped all over you.
I was gonna throw in one thing for that. I see this argument a lot, even months ago. Well, Microsoft is gonna keep up buying companies. Again, that's not how it works. That's
Yeah.
a slippery slope argument, and that's a logical fallacy.
Yeah.
You have to look at every deal by itself. If after this deal they go to try to buy Take-Two, for example, hell no. Like, you can't, once you're at an equal footing with the market leader, you can't go ahead and go buy Take-Two and then make GTA exclusive like that. No, you can't do that.
You don't want that as a Microsoft fan. If
No.
those of you that are concerned about Game Pass prices and all this other stuff, if nobody's keeping the fire to the heels, they have, they're gonna get us. I don't care how much you love them. Profits are always going to be goal one.
And
And that's go ahead.
I was just gonna say, you go ahead first, because I have a question to pose.
Yeah, well, no, and that's what kind of I was alluding to earlier is a lot of people like I think Shinobi 862, whatever his name is, he was kind of like, oh, he was kind of bad mouthing it a little bit in the sense that this opens up the floodgates, and if Microsoft's allowed to purchase the number one competitor or publisher, what does that mean? The future is going to be kind of scary, and it's like that's okay. That's not how this works. Like Sony, they're not going to be able to purchase anything and anytime soon because like you said now they're almost tied with the market leader kind of share. So and their business practices are being heavily scrutinized, so they're not going to acquisition anything anytime soon. Microsoft, they just got ABK, so they're probably maybe smaller studios, but if you're thinking Take Two, Sega, Square Enix, no. Nintendo, I mean, there's no way Nintendo's going to acquisition a major publisher or developer to make that stuff exclusive when there's now Xbox and PlayStation. So they're not going to do anything. I mean, maybe Tencent, but I can't really see them doing anything now with their current market share. It'd be like Sony. They're going to see, hey, Tencent already has what, like 100, 200 something studios, something ridiculous. It's just like you said, it's this fallacy. It's just, it's lost.
Did
It doesn't make sense.
he really say number one publisher?
Yeah, the number one publisher, I think it was, is what he said.
Because
Let me see if I
Sony
can
is
find
the
it.
number one publisher by revenue, according to Wikipedia, with Tencent being number 2 and Nintendo being number 3.
There were some weird numbers released this week where Tencent was the top, but otherwise it's the same order. It's Tencent and then Sony, and by a wide margin.
Oh, sorry, I misquoted. It's with the largest publisher being able to be bought. I think the floodgates will now open. And it's like, no, that's not how this kind of works.
Well, so here's my question. So let's say that maybe has a chance of happening. There was the rumor, who was said by a Twitter handle that has no actual credible sources, or he's never been right about anything.
Those are my favorite sources.
But he mentioned that Sony was going to buy Take-Two. So let's just pretend that is a possibility. That Sony buys Take-Two in response to Microsoft buying Activision. Do you think that goes through?
No.
No, absolutely not.
Yes.
Why not? Okay, so we got split opinions here. This is good. This is what I wanted to create. Cork, why not? Hold on. He said no first. You said no second,
Yeah.
so you're going second. That's how I
Yeah.
picked.
It's just because I mean they would increase their market share by so much, and like I said, it's they've already seen their practices, and if you really want to see about companies buying something and making it exclusive, it's Sony. Every argument that the FTC, that the CMA, that everyone in the EU has made has actually been like hypocritical and taken at that fact because it's what actually Sony does. So I can't see them throwing the book at Microsoft for something that Sony does, and then when Sony actually buys it, um, actually it does try and get the acquisition for Take Two, they don't use the same reasoning. I just can't see that happening.
So Q in the comments said, "Thanks for hanging in there tonight with us." First of all, I enjoy reading your input here. I'm going to add it in.
He's
Add
a
it
really
in.
great
Excuse
guy.
me. Yeah. First of all, he says, "What's to stop Microsoft from or now?" And he's referring to the buying more stuff. After ABK. And so all the reasons that they got ABK are gone now, was the comment. So I think what I'm getting out of that is that what more do you need? They don't need another shooter. I kind of had the same opinion when we talked about Ubisoft. It's so redundant to what Activision Blizzard offers that do you really need Ghost Recon and Call of Duty? That seems like a waste of money, really. You're just buying IP at this
Mhm.
point.
Yeah.
So, it's just, I think that's a great point. And another thing here is, how long do you think it's going to take Microsoft to sort out Activision Blizzard? They got their hands full for a couple years at least, and we're talking about redundant positions. We're talking about projects that might be already started that might be redundant to other projects that Microsoft has going on, and just all these resources and stuff that they have to move around, and then they have to get into development, what games they want to pursue. Like Microsoft is set, man. They are stacked with this, and if we see anything else, it's going to be something small, something that makes sense for maybe appealing to that Japanese market that we discussed earlier, where they've never really been great at having a foothold. But these big giant things for them are done. But Mikey posted the question, well, what does Sony buys Take Two? Do you think they should? Uh, in my opinion, and I guess I'm getting to be older now. These markets, they go through periods of consolidation and then diversifying. And right now, it's a consolidation mode, and I think that the big players are going to be gobbling stuff up. I think there's still going to be a wonderful indie scene. I think there's still going to be plenty of third party developers, but these big studios, these Sonys and your Tencents and your Googles and your Apples and your Microsofts, they're gonna be adding pieces. And where we put the line, where we put the foot down, where the government does, that remains to be seen.
Sorry,
Anthony,
Moko, you were next.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, it's pretty much what Kev said. Because based on your Mikey's comments a few minutes ago, it's putting this deal puts Microsoft kind of level with Sony, if probably not quite there. But for Sony to do that would take them so far ahead again. It seems inconceivable that it would be allowed based on what the commentary's been for the last few months. But who knows? Who knows? I mean, there was God, I'm going blank now. Square Enix.
Yeah.
They were. There's been some rumblings around that studio, right? There's been some consolidation within that studio, hasn't there? Recently, I'm sure I read something the other week that gave me the thought that maybe Sony were going to make a move for Square. But
I think the Square makes more sense.
Hmm.
there were some internal studios some studios related to Square which have been sort of consolidated or shut down.
Well, Square's already
Um,
in their pocket, right? Like they're
yeah,
halfway
They're
and
there.
going all in on NFT. They're gonna
Ooh,
tank their whole studio, I
the
think.
that's
NFT,
bad.
but yeah, but there's a lot of games that they're exclusive, aren't they already? Even though they're a third party. Um, I think they're more likely to be the acquisition for Sony.
I do too. So here's my take. I think Sony, if they go after Take Two, I think they should be allowed to. I think it'll be an interesting discussion all over again, though, because you will have the two essential market leaders in Sony and Microsoft now at equal revenue footing. And what happens if you buy a game like Grand Theft Auto? Does that's because that's up there in the same conversation with Call of Duty. Um, can you make that exclusive? I would argue you cannot. And they would have to get into the exact same conversations that Microsoft is getting into with Nintendo, Steam, and Sony about Call of Duty. Duty not being exclusive to their platform. I think GTA needs to have that same discussion. But here's why I don't think they can buy them. Sony has a market cap, depends on where you look. We'll say 100 million. Activision Blizzard is at 20 million or billion. Sorry.
Just a
So
few
they'd have to buy
zeros.
Activision billion for, or actually, Jesus, Activision
That's it.
Blizzard
He's lost
for,
it.
somewhere above that market cap. Let's say 25 billion. That's a quarter of their market cap.
So what would be the point? I mean, really, you'd be buying Take-Two for what? For GTA, right? Or you'd be
Yeah,
making a move on that for just for that one IP is really
but
what.
that's a lot of revenue coming in.
Well, it is a lot,
Um,
but they've not they've not released anything for 10 years for Rockstar, and
they
you know,
made $3 billion
I
last year.
yeah, I get that, but I don't
I
know.
was gonna say, don't underestimate the online component of Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah, I
That
know it's
thing
all about
just
shark cards. I know
shit,
that,
or it just prints money. Sorry, I was about to.
No, it's okay. It does both.
but
Yeah, it's just pretty much is just a money making machine with all its microtransactions and stuff like that.
yeah,
I mean, I still got friends that are playing it today, and having a blast still.
yeah, me too, me
I
too.
feel like I missed out. I was always kind of skeptical of it. Like they as soon as they made their currency like shark dollars, I was just like, I don't. This doesn't feel very good to me. So I'm just gonna skip out on it. But I also do love. One of the things
Burn.
about gaming is the when you get weird social interactions like that in different environments that people come to,
Yeah.
and the stuff they create. Like we saw a tribute in was it Destiny to Lance Riddick? Is that the guy actor's name
Yeah.
that just passed? Unfortunately,
Mhm.
I love that stuff. World of Warcraft is also
Lance
famous
Reddick.
for that. Yeah, thank you. Where players would get together and they'd make these huge trains of 1,000 players and they would march through zones because honoring someone who passed or something, and that kind of stuff is you can't create it in any other medium.
And
Also,
I'm gonna say, I was gonna say, I don't even think Sony can buy Square Enix right now. I mean, I don't even think that's a possibility for them with how heavily scrutinized Microsoft was. I mean, Square
Oh,
Enix is also more than just a video game company.
Hmm.
I think they also have like gambling machines and stuff like that, like Konami used to. I think
Little
Konami still
bit.
does, but yeah, but
Square
they
a,
also
Jap-
have a
a, Square,
major. Oh, sorry, they also have a major mobile component too.
a Square
Yeah.
Japanese company.
Yeah.
They are,
Square
right,
Square
just
and Enix
clarify.
used to be separate.
So,
They both were built on Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy. Basically, they had two of the earliest, most successful RPGs of all time, and
right.
eventually they got married.
I see. So how
Um,
would that work if a Japanese company, Sony, wanted to buy a Japanese company, Square?
I
Does that still have to go out to global
it
regulators?
does,
Yeah.
because you have two American companies trying to buy each other right now.
But I don't think it's
Is
the same scale, and I don't think it's the same scrutiny. I think Kevin and I are kind of two ends of the boat on these issues. I do think Sony could make a big buy right now without a lot of
Right.
scrutiny,
I think
especially
they could
after
too.
especially if Xbox just getting the pass on the biggest acquisition of all time.
I think they get I think they could get Square. I think Take-Two would see some scrutiny because not only do they have, GTA, you mentioned they haven't released anything in a while, but they have BioShock,
Yeah.
Borderlands. Take-Two
So,
publishes all the 2K games, so NBA
Tom,
2K, WWE
the,
2K.
yeah, to Tom Clancy, his
Well,
name,
that's
Take-Two.
all very
Um,
true.
yeah, so
That's Ubisoft.
Is it Ubisoft?
Yeah.
so they
Yeah,
The
it
do
is
a lot.
Ubisoft. You're right.
the one I
Um,
keep hearing is not just Square Enix, but it's Square Enix Capcom. So
Yeah.
obviously, if you don't think they can do Square Enix, they're not going to do both. But I think that both of those houses would fit very well under the Sony banner, especially with the the Japanese roots, and I think they could get away with both. I really do. I don't think they're
I still
anywhere near
think
the size of
Microsoft
Activision.
goes after Capcom.
You do.
I still
What?
think.
So let's throw this around the horn real quick. There's
Why?
some Japanese studios in play. We have Konami, we have Capcom. I guess you could say Square Enix if you wanted to.
Yeah.
Maybe Atlas.
Sega.
Okay, yeah, and Sega. Sega gets weird because they really do have that all the arcade machines and that kind of stuff. Like they're way more than games. So that one's kind of always a little of a bit of an outlier for me. But if Microsoft could pick up one of those, which one do you think would be most beneficial to them?
Jeez.
If
For
they want to make a
Microsoft,
if they want to make a push in Japan, I would say Sega.
Okay. And Sonic is a great mascot. I don't care what you say. That's good.
Q agrees with me.
Yeah, I see him down there. He's all over it.
Sega.
And lots of great. You can go way back to Toe Jam and Earl and all kinds of weird stuff for their stable IP. Mikey, how about you?
I still think it's Capcom. And mainly because of the IPs that Capcom publishes, and the types of games that they do. It's very similar to what Microsoft's promoting, that co-op online experience, and Capcom has years of doing that. So if they wanted to try talks with a Japanese publisher, I really do believe it would be Capcom,
Okay,
just because it continues that trend, and it fits in with the rest of their family.
when I start thinking about those IP, Capcom becomes more appealing to me, and also maybe more unrealistic because of what they offer. We're looking at Street Fighter 2, we're looking at Resident Evil, we're looking at a
Monster
entire
Hunter.
stable of classic arcade games, 1942, the airplane game. You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
remember that one? And Ghost and
Yeah.
Goblins and all that kind of stuff. So they're pretty big. I actually would have gone with Konami. Yeah, I think they're gettable. I think that they're a little down. Metal Gear hasn't delivered in ages. Castlevania, where the heck is Castlevania? And they keep coming out with these statements that, oh, we're working on those franchises that you love, but we really haven't seen a whole lot from them. And I think that they are in a gettable position. So that's probably why I would vote with them. And I think those franchises resonate in Japan as well as the States. So, Anthony, you're our last take.
God, you've covered all the bases. Any one of them would be great, right? But
Oh, well, sure. But
I
I
mean,
mean,
Sega
yeah,
for me, this is the yeah. When you think, I would think Sega, but like when you said all the IPs, they've all got great IPs.
sure, legendary. They all have storied
Yeah,
histories, and yeah,
of
you're
course.
not wrong.
But
I mean, Atlas alone for Sega would be a huge get.
Like I said, when I started thinking about IPs for Capcom, I was getting crazy, but you can definitely do the same for Sega. Just storied games.
can we mention there was a real popcorn moment in the week where just before this was announced today, the guy from Arcane, Harvey Smith, for some bizarre reason, did an interview where he
Oh,
revealed that they had Redfall was a PS5 game before Xbox purchased the studio, and it just blew my mind that, I mean, these people surely are media trained or whatever, and it just blew my mind that he would say this while the acquisition is ongoing.
sure.
Topic change. Let's do it.
And the
But
other thing
no,
is
well, no,
that
it's kind of tied in. It's tied in. He
No,
said
it's
like
definitely tied in with ABK. Okay, I
yeah,
totally agree because this is kind of goes against what we've been hearing, right? From
because when I read this the day before today, yesterday, I was like, this is going to screw everything up, and then that's why I was so shocked this morning. But yeah, he said that Redfall PS5 version was in development before Xbox purchased the studio, and they just cancelled it, and they literally came in and said, no, it's now a Xbox PC and Game Pass only. But then since then, Microsoft have come out with a statement denying this, saying we haven't pulled any
yeah,
games from PlayStation. In fact, we've expanded our footprint of games on PlayStation, and the first two that we shipped with ZeniMax were PS5 exclusives, Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. So they've kind of like shut that down their own Arcane's own director or whatever role he's got. It was just a really weird story how he was allowed to, or why he would sort of feel that he could reveal that. Just blew my mind. But I mean, I don't think he's making it up, is he? It's coming from somewhere. But then
no,
Microsoft have come
he's
out.
not making it up.
You know,
This
he
is
can't be. He can't. He
this is
can't be.
very
Then
real.
Microsoft have come out and
They
said
already
that, no,
confirmed the comment is true.
yeah.
Arcane came out and confirmed that what he said was true.
So if I can just what the big issue here is wording and how people are interpreting it. Microsoft at one point said that they would never pull content away from PlayStation. Microsoft has never pulled any previously released games from the PlayStation Store. If you took that wording at face value, never pull content from PlayStation. They haven't. Now, what some people take issue with is future content, right? Mikey, I think you have a pretty good grasp on this one. Why don't you give us a roundup?
Well, Microsoft came out, they didn't deny the statement. They said that they clarified, we have not pulled any game from PlayStation, which is still true because you cannot pull a game from a console when the game does not exist yet. And the game was in development. They canceled. Canceled versus pulled, they are different definitions. And however wishy-washy you want to get with words, that's what they're doing here. So they had that PlayStation version out there, and what was really weird is the Redfall developer, I think something Smith said that
Harvey.
it was a good thing because it allowed them to focus on PC and Xbox.
He did.
And I think his phrasing was "and the Game Pass." It was a really weird translation.
Is that like
Um,
the Reddits and the YouTubes?
But
And
it caused a lot of backlash. There's a lot of, I know we have a lot of PS5 people on our sub, but it
well,
caused a lot of backlash a couple of days ago. But
well,
yeah,
I
but
mean,
he's saying
I'm a
that
I
PS5
think
this
it's
totally,
person.
well, they're saying it totally goes, goes against everything Phil Spencer says about getting our games
Yeah.
everywhere.
but it
and
doesn't.
It doesn't. I was going to say it does not because they've been very upfront about it being a case by case basis when they bought Bethesda. They even said this would be a case by case basis on what's going to be coming to Xbox and PlayStation, what's going to be multi-plat, and what's going to be exclusive.
Pulling a game to me would be canceling the Deathloop deal or Ghostwire Tokyo.
Yep.
That would be pulling.
Yeah.
And they did not do that. They waited the full years on both of them, and now we have Ghostwire coming out in April, I believe. Those games all came to PlayStation under their exclusive contracts, and Microsoft could have canceled those. That's pulling content. What they've done is they looked at a game that was in development, and they're like, "We're not going to do a PlayStation version. Go ahead, stop developing for that." And that's they can do that. They bought the studio. They have not pulled any content. It's like, what if they pulled Elder Scrolls from PlayStation or Minecraft?
Sure.
You know,
But people
But that
feel
was when,
entitled to these games, and just or
yeah,
not. So I kind of posed a hypothetical earlier this week, and I'm like, okay, so let's say you feel entitled to Starfield. Say it was getting cooked up for your console of choice. In these conversations, it's usually PlayStation. And Microsoft picked that studio up, and who's paying for the development now for Starfield? And I know some of the resources were spent before that, but that's included in the purchase price when Microsoft
Yep.
bought Bethesda. And I was like, okay, so I'm gonna give you that one. Maybe you're right. Maybe Starfield should have come out on PlayStation. So let's go 6 years in the
And,
future, and Starfield 2 is coming out. Now, Starfield
and
2 has
Cube.
been completely created under the Microsoft banner. It's completely funded by Microsoft. The marketing, the development, everything is Microsoft. You still feel entitled to Starfield 2? And I got a few replies that said, yeah, they do. They're like, these games were always meant to be multi-platform. And to me, I think there's a disconnect here. You're not
So
living
was
in
Final
reality
Fantasy.
anymore. Right?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And Q brings up a good point. It says everywhere is console, PC, and mobile. You have the option to play on every type of
Yeah,
device.
that is a
That's
fantastic point.
everywhere.
wow, that's a great definition.
Yeah.
I like that. But when I heard that news 2 days ago, but I thought this is really going to put a spanner in the works if this story comes out from the Arcane guy. But then today, obviously, it was all flipped the other way. And then you posted, Kevin, I forgot her name, Lulu.
Oh
The
yeah,
lady,
Lulu,
this she put
the CCO
again. She's
or
absolutely bringing it with these tweets. It shocks me that she's allowed to post this stuff.
Is
Um,
aggressive the right word? She's very aggressive.
yeah, but she said
hey there, Panda.
she's put the updated findings show an improved understanding of this console game market and demonstrates our commitment to supporting players in competition. Sony's campaign to protect its dominance by blocking our merger cannot overcome the facts.
It's
It's
She is
amazing.
So
pure fire.
It's,
it
she has no
reminds me
fear.
it
She has
reminds
no
me
fear.
about Mike Ybarra was kind of off the wagon sometimes when he worked for Microsoft.
Yeah.
Um and if she's still at Activision, it'll be interesting. She just doesn't as
But
a CEO or CFO or whatever she is, she's not CEO, but
COO.
COO, thank you.
sure, yeah.
One of those C titles.
She's
Sometimes
sweet.
you just, we've talked about the stuff and we've laughed at it, but it's not a good look. I'm
Well,
gonna be
So
honest.
I would agree.
Sometimes it's kind of like, shut up,
so with this is job security for her, and she was a very big part in the union busting of of the unions that Raven Software and Activision were trying
yeah.
to do.
Get her out.
And yeah, she was a very big part of that. And now this is her. This is how I look at it. I like what she's doing. And I think this is something that if Xbox takes away from it to start doing, have a backbone. But this is her trying to save her job. She already knows. She sees the executive purge coming. Phil Spencer has said it. We're going to be watching how this union thing happens
Mhm.
and how this acquisition plays out and things like that. And we'll be making decisions on who stays and who goes. This is, in all honesty, not because I think it's because who she wants to be or she's doing it out of because it's just what she's supposed to do.
Pre-
I think she's doing
Preservation,
it because she's trying to, yeah, preserve herself. And
but
it's
also
going to be
like
hard to give her the boot when she's
if the
making posts like this.
if the deal doesn't go through, it's not very good job security, is it? Like
No, no,
she's
not
putting
at
herself
all.
in a very, very untenable position if this deal doesn't go through.
All right,
Yeah,
we can keep her for the memes. How about that?
there we
She's,
go.
but I think, but as a like we say, sit back, entertainment, watching this deal go down like popcorn. What happens next? They're just loving it, the show, the spectacle of it. She's amazing. It's
She
exactly
could
what
be
you want to
this.
see.
She could be the CMO, the chief memes officer.
You know, there's probably a job for her in Microsoft social department if that's her specialty. They can
Yeah,
find her a position. So,
but yeah,
uh,
what she's doing, I agree. She's amazing at what she's doing now. I like Mikey said, I do think it's a little bit of not tactless, but it definitely. I don't think it's a great look, but when you're in the gaming space to gamers, it's something that's great. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's a weird. It's that
it's.
weird balance
mm,
I, I would say
what's going on.
I would say it's unprofessional,
Yeah, it
but
definitely is.
it's
as a
brash.
gamer,
It's a little
it,
unprofessional. It's a
yeah, but
little modern
it's
political, if you will. People are
great to see
losing their
though. It's great
filters.
as a gamer, as somebody watching this go down. I think it's fantastic.
Because if we're gonna
But
bash people that come out and like go against, like the one guy from Kotaku that said that players were toxic, and
yeah,
everyone was jumping on him.
Luke Plunkett.
We have to call out toxicity on our own side.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna call her out. At this point, it's like stop. Like just let this play
Wow.
out. Um, and that's just how I feel about it.
No, that's an excellent point. So it's easy to get a little caught up in this, and you know, I also get this feeling with her that it's or Kevin said, you know, walking that line. Like I feel like it's only a matter of time before she goes over it. You know, she makes that one mistake, and it can be very damaging if you say the wrong thing. And
she's being
I think she's been
empowered.
close.
She's being empowered by Twitter because everybody jumps on it and they're like, they think she's
Oh,
great.
it's a hell
Well,
of
I
a
mean,
drug.
So yeah,
look at Brad Smith's tweets and then look at hers. Completely different.
yeah.
Um, it's just yeah, it's day and night in professionalism. And like I said, I don't mind her posting stuff because it gets that engagement, it gets the gamers behind. So she's playing to that strong suit. I think there was a lot of people that called it out. Chris Dring from BGC and GameIndustry.biz, where he says kind of like a clown show. It's kind of like this circus act. It's kind of this. It's very polarizing and very sensationalized, and she's playing into that. And I think that's a major strength for getting the deal passed with gamers and creating hype and publicity. But as what her job title is, it's unprofessional. So it's that, like I said, it's that middle ground, that weird middle ground.
The middle ground. So I think that we've kind of hammered home our major two topics. It just was a really weird day. You just didn't know when anybody was going to come out with a major ruling or decision. This really seems to pave
Yeah.
the way for similar discussion and similar maybe rulings from other bodies. There still is this cloud thing to be sorted out. So for those people running like it's a sealed deal, we're not there yet. There's still some
I was just
hurdles
going
to
to
get
ask you
over.
now. What's next? What's the timeline now? Is there
You know,
anything? Does this bring anything forward that this has been?
Well, this
April, I
is
think. Go ahead.
it's all in April.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
gonna come one after another. And this has only narrowed their concerns. But I'm going to guess that we're going to see one or two more deals with cloud services before that we get to that final date.
100.
Because they still have to alleviate those cloud concerns with the CMA and the EU. And then I'm willing to bet that unless the FTC actually goes to block it within federal court, I think we see it by May.
um, this kind of makes like Call of Duty as a remedy in any form kind of like a non-point now, right? So I think that's kind of the big
Oh,
takeaway here.
Oh, oh, that's the other thing. I was thinking about this. Sony was hoping for a better deal. This might hurt that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
It will
we'll
be up to
find
the
out, but
regulators.
this could hurt it because now they don't necessarily need the parity clause in the contract they give Sony. I don't know.
No, sorry. Do you mean
Well,
because? Yeah, I
go
get
ahead.
you. Because I'm just asking to explain that. So you're saying they don't need the parity clause because it's been acknowledged now that there is a disparity between them in the marketplace.
Well, it's been acknowledged that Microsoft will not keep it from PlayStation, but it hasn't.
Mhm.
But that doesn't mean that Microsoft can't maybe like keep some operators for themselves, or keep a game mode, or keep maps
Right.
exclusive for a month again. And they were trying to give Sony a clause that said we're going to do this in parity, and I still think they will, but they
Mhm.
don't necessarily have to now. The whole thing was that Sony maybe just was doing this for a better deal, and it might have backfired a little bit.
Well, I think they still have to do the parody because it's not what they've offered to Sony in the sense, but what they've said to regulators that they will do. Now, whether that's I think legally binding or if they've actually said to the regulators, "Hey, we're going to make everything the same. We're not going to do any of this kind of stuff." If they've made that promise to the regulators, then I would feel like they still have to live up to that.
If they have, but we haven't seen that
Yeah,
full list that they've given them since.
yeah,
So we'll see when it comes out. I still expect them to do it in parody,
oh yeah.
but I don't think this is helping Sony now. But we'll see. I guess I think at this point Sony's not going to get anything better.
No.
10 years was probably yeah what they're looking at
Well,
like
I
So,
mean,
everybody
s-
else.
so there
this
was that other story, wasn't there, about the 10 years where Microsoft said to Sony that. So who did say it to? You'll know, Jay. Um, that in 10 years is enough for Sony to come up with their own Call of Duty. Did you see
oh,
that one?
yeah,
Should
that
be.
was a comment that was made. Sorry, what did you say, Mikey?
Oh, I just said should be. I was agreeing with the 10-year
Oh,
statement they
yeah,
said.
yeah, and
But
that's kind of hard to argue with the gaming
but
landscape. Go back a decade, look at the gaming landscape. I mean, I guess Call of Duty was strong and really entering its prime back then, but most games don't
but
last
that
that
kind of
long.
alludes to, doesn't it? That obviously alludes to, in 10 years' time, you ain't gonna have it. You're not gonna have Call of Duty.
I don't know if I believe that. I wanted to get in that a little bit earlier, maybe we can kind of get out of the subject, but I'm going to dig us back in for a second. So, what do you think Microsoft's overall strategy is moving forward? Let's say the Activision Blizzard deal is complete. We know that some games are going to be multi-platform. We know some games are going to be exclusive. I think we've seen the strategy already with the types of titles that they're focusing multi-plat and the types of titles that they might want to hold a little closer to home. Starfield, closer to home. Minecraft, multi-platform. Call of Duty, I think we all kind of agree that that was never really on the board as something that they were going to bring exclusive. Some people might disagree, but I think that's kind of the gist here. And the reasoning is because there's a lot of money out there for those types of games. So, a game that we've never heard anybody concerned about is Overwatch. Nobody's like,
No.
what if Microsoft's going to bring Overwatch? And because everybody knows they're not, because that game makes a lot of money, man. It's all
Yeah.
microtransactions and stuff, right? So we hear people concerned about Diablo. A game that Microsoft, if they own it, is not going to make exclusive is Diablo. That battle pass is going to sell so much money. They get to put Xbox Studios in big letters when you load that screen up on competitive platforms. A lot of good stuff for keeping those multi-plats. So to me, when I look at it, I see these games as a service, the ones with the downloadable content, the ones with the extra buys. Those are going to be your multi-platform, and it looks like they're going to bring the other stuff in house. Is there any reason to feel that that's not going to be the future?
I
Oh
think some of them will go exclusive to Xbox. I don't know what those will be. But I think Xbox's plan, from what I've seen, is Xbox is a brand, is mostly a publisher. The console we have today is a device used to push Xbox games. But that's why they're on PC. That's why they're even on Switch. And it's why they want to be on mobile. And if someday Sony came out and said that you can put Game Pass on PlayStation, every single game that's ever been exclusive to Xbox would be on PlayStation. Um, I don't think they're as concerned with consoles as they are with pushing Game Pass at this point and pushing subscribers and creating Xbox into this Netflix video game brand. Um, And I think in the next 10 years, if that ever happened, if they ever allowed Game Pass on PlayStation, I'm we might not even have an Xbox console. That sounds crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but it's true because they're pushing the service. They're a services first brand now, not console first. So in the next 10 years, the gaming landscape is very unpredictable. Maybe Call of Duty is only on Xbox because Sony stays in their way and doesn't allow Game Pass, and PlayStation Now isn't allowed on Xbox. That's totally fine. That's probably what's going to be the status quo. But I
Yeah. They
can't
just
say for certainty that Call of Duty gets renewed because we don't know what Sony will have in 10 years, or what Microsoft will do to promote Game Pass because
Mhm.
it's already available everywhere else but one place. Well, two places if you include Switch. Um, it's just it's widespread, and I'm willing to bet we see Game Pass on Switch in a
Yeah,
cloud
definitely
form in 5 years.
on Switch too,
Yeah.
for
I don't
sure.
think Nintendo has a problem with that. I really don't,
Nope.
because the games they sell have they've barely seemed concerned with this whole saga. Really, they're just
But
like, we're
just
just
imagine it.
Nintendo wing over here. We're good.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna see, like Jay was the point, or the question Jay asked. I think what we're gonna see is those big titles like Diablo, Overwatch. Those things are gonna stay multi-plat. Those are just money makers. What I think we will start seeing though is these revival titles that are kind of more synonymous with PC. Warcraft, Starcraft, get the RTS game going back again, or even that. I mean, there's such a world there that they can create, such a huge world of just narratives and gameplays. I mean, we almost had like a Siphon Filter, Metal Gear Solid-ish, Splinter Cell kind of StarCraft Ghost game that was supposed to come out
We
years
sure
and years
did.
ago that got canceled.
Damn, you hurt me,
There's
Kevin.
stuff like that that we can start seeing from Xbox that will be exclusive. World of Warcraft, that's probably going to be, maybe that could come to Xbox exclusive. I mean,
That's
Sony has Final Fantasy,
yeah.
World of Warcraft could
That's
be
Do you
the
for
think
one.
what?
Xbox.
That's the one I
Do you think
wanted to
War?
pose. Is World of Warcraft, and sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
That's
um,
all right.
I liked your point. I like that. That is a great competitor for Final Fantasy. What's the online one? Is it 14?
It's 14.
Phew. Yeah, you
Yeah,
think I would know
Final
that?
Fantasy 14.
I used to be my jam, but I guess we broke up. But anyway, so is this? But it's such a cash cow, right? So everybody, a lot of people anyway, like Jez and stuff, are like, "Boy, I'd love to see World of Warcraft on console." I think they bring it to PlayStation. I think they
They
would.
could.
I
It'd be a very hard fight.
and here's where I say that this is why I said some of them they'll bring exclusively to Xbox. I think WoW is one of those. Because I don't think they necessarily, because Overwatch, they both make money. World of Warcraft, I bet you makes way more money than Overwatch. Um,
Yeah.
and it's only on PC. Bringing that to PlayStation and Xbox would make a ton more money, but I bet you they keep it off PlayStation if they do bring it to consoles.
Hmm.
Can you bring Warcraft to console? Do you think it would
Oh
work?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at Final Fantasy 14. That's on
it,
PlayStation.
So the control scheme.
it,
I mean the controls, like the using
Yeah.
what?
Can I do 30 seconds on this? The control scheme
Yeah.
is you use the shoulder buttons to alternate the face buttons. So R1, triangle, square, X, or AB, whatever, and R1 in your D-pad is 8 commands. R2,
Mhm.
same thing. So you end up having this really great, you have access to like maybe 32 buttons on the fly. It takes a lot to learn the muscle memory. You got a lot going on, right? But eventually you'll get it, especially when you.
Have you done this? Is this an existing?
I did. I
Um,
did it way back in the
Mhm.
day. I had a third-party PC app called Xpadder, I think. I mapped my own
Right.
controls. I had four UI bars on World of Warcraft, like 32 buttons, and they were all mapped to a button. I could press
Wow.
select to open my map. I could press start to bring up the menu. If I pressed down on the right analog, that was targeting. If I pressed left analog, that was friendly targeting. If I was healing, like I was a madman. I just wanted to lay on my couch and play World of Warcraft, and I still do. I do.
But is that accessible to the masses though? I mean,
It's working for Final Fantasy.
that's some. Is it right? Okay.
Final Fantasy is a little. I haven't played Final Fantasy, but I'm going to speak from my experience with WoW. I don't speak about it a lot because it was very addicting, and
The
I
dark
actually
days.
quit on my own because I was the top mage on my server at one point. Um, I was a very competitive player, and I was one of those mythic raiders that was trying to do. I wasn't world first clears, but I will say playing on a controller is probably a very diminished experience. I think it would be one of those first games that really pushes the whole mouse and keyboard natively on Xbox. People would, if they're going to play it on console, they'll be going out to get a mouse and keyboard.
Right.
Um, just because there is so much going on in a game like WoW. I was downloading using Curse,
Oh gosh,
downloading tons of third-party mods
the mods,
uh,
yeah.
to give me different UIs, to show damage numbers, to give me extra toolbars, to give me a different, cleaner look, so I could make different transparencies and I could see my spell slots better. I had everything tweaked to the max. 50% of my screen was UI, but that's what World of Warcraft's like,
You
you
guys,
know.
Yeah.
It really
you
is. But
guys
you
are
bring up a great
hardcore.
point. Is that
End
mod
game,
support?
high level.
Yeah, well, yeah, you really need that mod support for games like that, though. Like if you're damage meters are half the fun, man. If you're in there with a group of 25 or 40 people, and gosh, I would just get that cycle just right and always spec in that gear to come out on top. And it didn't mean anything except for me to feel a little good about my ego, I guess. But it's that kind of stuff is really important. But it's not just the damage meters. They have boss packs that help you learn the mechanics of boss fights and give you heads up when maybe you should not be standing in the stupid, as they used to say. But
Oh yeah, it made me the player I was. And I was posting top 10 scores for total damage in raid boss fights and stuff. I was way invested.
yeah,
But that type of game, if you want to be like that, takes 8 to 10 hours a day.
you're
I'm
describing
not even
every fear
kidding.
I have about Diablo 4.
But that doesn't
Well,
require that. You're not going into do world firsts.
Oof. I
Um,
mean, you are right to an extent because that game was crazy. I had the first Onyxia kill on my server as a druid. I got this really cool. They called it a tier 2 helmet. I got it so early they didn't even have art installed in the game, so I ran around like Orgrimmar, and it looked like I had a 1930s leather football helmet on, and that was like the top helmet anybody could get. I was the first person to have it, and I still have a screenshot somewhere buried in my hard drive of people being like nobody cared, man. Like so
filthy
they
horde.
added it way later.
Filthy horde.
Yeah, filthy horde. I know.
As
I
soon as you
started
said
Alliance.
Ogrimmar,
Don't get me wrong, but so that's some great reminiscing about World of Warcraft.
go Alliance.
sorry, my question really was just, do you think it
Same.
will work on console? Um, it just seems like it's a very intricate, like you just said, like to get the best out of the game, you really need to be playing on PC. But
So
Well, like, yeah, Mikey's point too is that there's going to be a lot of people. I mean, Xbox has been very pro keyboard and mouse for Xbox. So
yeah,
there's a very good possibility that they do bring it over. I mean, the Xbox could be, especially with cloud PC gaming, could be an entry level PC for some
yeah,
people.
and it
hmm
is worth noting that over the years, Blizzard has really simplified the control scheme and the rotations for most classes, and this is where we've gotten a lot of the console rumors from. Pretty much for every expansion that's come out for the last 3 or 4 at least, but it's because they've made these controls more controller friendly in the end. But I think it's a great point to be made that MMO, much like real time strategy, is probably best experienced on keyboard and mouse, and really first person shooter. Even though I'll never I'll never give in. I'm always a controller there.
So, if we had to guess the first game to come from the existing catalog of Blizzard games or Activision, what game do you think comes to Xbox first exclusively out of
jeez,
them? I have my guess.
exclusively,
It's
exclusive.
one. It's one we haven't
Um,
talked about.
Everybody's taking a big think on this one, so if you're hearing silence on podcast, just give us a moment. I should plug in some Jeopardy music, but
I was
I'm gonna
I was
come
gonna
in
say
hot.
Heroes of the Storm, but I don't. They
Ooh,
canceled that, so that's done.
Kevin, that's not realistic, and you're just hurting me more, man.
Yeah, that would have been a great console though. That would have been a great console edition.
Most of those characters would MOBA, a traditional MOBA has never broken through on console, and I think most of those characters would translate just fine. But that's a good guess. So we're talking Activision and Blizzard here, though. We're looking for something that Microsoft is going to make exclusive. This can be current, past franchise. I assume is our criteria here. Uh, Man, you are asking the tough questions tonight.
that is a tough
I'm gonna
question.
say Boy, you know what? I'm gonna blank on it. I pass.
Do you want me to go first?
Yes, please. It's your question. You must have an answer in mind.
I
Blizzard, do
do.
it.
Hearthstone.
What?
Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's a
Oh.
great answer. Why isn't that there already? That's just free money.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I'm like, wow, Hearthstone's not on consoles. And I bet you it comes exclusively to Xbox.
But yeah, you said
because-
exclusive. That would go against my earlier game types scenario, wouldn't it? But could be a draw. That game is still really big, so that's really good.
Because I know another draw for PlayStation is Genshin Impact, which is a mobile PC game,
Yeah.
mobile first. I've played it, but it's available on PlayStation. Hearthstone would just go bonkers, I bet you, on Xbox.
You know what? I think Q has the right answer.
I was going to mention that too right now.
Yeah. Do you know
Oh,
what
the
they said?
Blizzard survival game?
Yeah, I think that's the right answer. We know it's in progress.
We do. I think Hearthstone shows up first though.
Okay.
It'd probably be the easier to port.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That game's nothing.
And that's why I said Hearthstone. I know about that game, and I that is definitely going to be an Xbox exclusive.
Yeah, I forgot about it, but it's out there. We know what's happening.
And we've heard nothing but good things about it, which is weird to hear about an early game in development that it's doing really well apparently.
Yeah. People enjoy what they've seen of it. It's, I think the only thing I've really heard about it, but I'm sure we'll get some news sooner or later, I guess. Did you guys want to kind of hit on some smaller stories and kind of kick it around a little bit here before we get out of here?
Let's do it.
Yeah. So Elden Ring added ray tracing, which has been, the unicorn of this generation for most people. We're still waiting for it on Minecraft. I won't get into that, but it's shadows and ambient occlusion. It's not reflections, but Elden Ring's probably one of the most popular games this generation, if not the most popular. So it's nice to see continued support there, right?
Yeah, I just didn't think it added a lot. I'm starting to take the opinion that ray tracing is unnecessary for now.
Okay.
Every game that I put it on, I've had to drop the frame rate, and so say for Cyberpunk, for example, and I've 5 minutes, and I'm just straight back to 60
Yeah,
FPS.
I'm the frame rate guy.
I'm just, it's noticeably worse. I mean, not graphically, obviously, for the look of it, but the performance on these games. For me, is Elden Ring the same? I don't know. I haven't seen that. Does it drop the frame rate?
We got Cat Cam going. Mikey brought in a special guest host. Elden Ring, I haven't played it. I have seen a lot of people playing it this week, and I couldn't figure out what the uptick was, and this explains it for me. It sounds like Mikey played it, and too much of a hit?
Too much of a hit.
Okay.
And I spoke about like Outer Worlds, which I'm still waiting on the patch. Maybe that's out now. But I went from ultra to high, and I screenshotted them, and all I could see was barely a little bit more shadowing on a ship. And it's not as bad. It looks prettier, but to me it was like Cyberpunk. I definitely was not playing in ray trace mode.
But
Well,
there
from
should be
the
ray
talk of
tracing in Minecraft. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, that looks incredible. Have you seen the ray
There's
tracing?
just no reason not to have it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there is, but they're not telling. So, to move on, we saw a little bit more about Senua. There was a State of Unreal video that was released at the Game Developer Conference, and get out there and watch it if you haven't seen it. It's did you guys watch it?
I did. Who says Senua though?
Oh boy, I say
What do you
everything
s-
wrong, man.
What do you
I
say,
do.
Mikey?
No, but I've never heard them say that first. I know it was her, but everyone refers to it as Hellblade.
Okay, thank you. This was the
Yeah.
name of the trailer that they showed. So it's a little bit of, yes, you're right. It's from Hellblade.
But I think that was I watched it and then I heard a little bit more about it. It was to highlight a new feature of Unreal Engine, and I could be wrong.
Yep,
I
you're
read this
right.
in an article later on that they're
Unreal
using
5.
so you can take from a video and translate that into a game. You don't need all the
Yeah.
motion tracking and whatnot. You can just take it straight from video and motion track that onto a character in a game itself, which
Amazing.
is huge.
Yeah,
That's
huge jump in tech, huge.
which is something that of all teams. I mean, look at Project Mara again. I point that out. Ninja Theory is one of those leading edge teams, and there's a lot of Unreal Engine talent at Microsoft with the coalition with Ninja Theory. What they're doing with some of this stuff is incredible. And if you go back and watch that gameplay reveal trailer of Hellblade 2, it only gets better now apparently.
This is the game where I'm most like, take your damn time. Just do what I don't care if it doesn't come out for 2 years. I want you to have everything to your level, to your standards.
It's going to be a form of art when it comes out. I
Yeah.
hope so.
Every
From what they've
indication is you're
shown.
right.
I think we see it this year though. I think holiday this year. We'll see the Hellblade 2 drop on Xbox.
We'll probably see it before we see the day before.
Pretty sure we're gonna see a lot of
I was
stuff
gonna say,
before we see the day
I
before.
think that's the safest bet I've heard in a while, man.
Did you guys look into that after I brought that up on the podcast?
No, but
What's that?
Oh, it's only gotten worse.
I was thinking it's still
bet.
spiraling.
Oh, it's still spiraling.
You got
It's
a
only
little
gotten
recap for us?
Well, oh God, recap.
Oh man, maybe I've asked too much. Hold on.
There's a lot. So basically, there's this studio that promised this really cool game on Steam, PlayStation, Xbox. This absolutely dazzling survival title, and they showed this trailer for it, and they had developers looking at it outside and elsewhere in the industry that all the developers were saying it looked like vertical slices of gameplay, that it wasn't actually the game itself, that these developers just thrown it together and it wasn't actually representative of the game. Back in February, we got some gameplay finally, and it's massively downgraded. Some of the assets in the game itself, like they start in a neighborhood if you watch the gameplay trailer, and that neighborhood itself is from an asset pack that was released in December. So, huge red flag when you're showing gameplay of an area that you're using assets for, and they didn't change anything of these assets either. They had trucks in the game that were sitting on the wayside, like in the streets and whatnot, and they didn't even change the colors of the trucks. That was from another asset pack. Like people just kept pointing out asset packs that these people were using in this gameplay trailer of this game that looked way worse than the original reveal trailers. Fast forward a couple weeks later, and now they've shown the process of, and that's a very too long didn't read. There's so much more about this developer that's terrible, like abandoned projects, pushing other software, etc. Fast forward to a few weeks later, in the most recent news, they chronicled the game of where it used to be and what it used to look like, and the old game actually looks way better.
Oh yeah.
So is this a Kickstarter? What are they trying to get money out of people?
No,
upfront?
they're supposedly fully funded. I know Nvidia has an investment in them, to the point that Nvidia actually told them to prove to them that the game's real, sometime
Right.
in March. So that meeting either already happened or is about to happen.
So they start
Um,
developing in March then.
Yeah.
it's not looking good for them.
Oh, man.
They've used their popularity to try to capitalize on other investment opportunities, and it looks bad.
Q brought it up. I was going to say the same thing. Is well, kind of. What do you think comes out first, Abandon or that game? Because Abandon, people haven't even really seen any gameplay of it.
Aptly
It's just
named.
been, yeah, it's literally been abandoned. So, um, yeah, that's a crazy story too for those that don't know about it. But that's insane.
I think we see Dead Matter before we see either of those, and Dead Matter is a game I backed a long time ago that's nearly been abandoned. So,
You probably see GTA 6 first.
ooh, it's another good guess. I don't even remember why I made the day before joke. It was about a different game.
Well,
Um,
Oh,
ahead,
we'll
go
see Hellblade before day before. That's what it was.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I want them to take their time, but there is a lot of indication that this is around the corner as well. And I'm not saying like this summer, but maybe winter or maybe early next year. I think would be, if somebody asked me to place like a bet on it, I would say early next year. So
Yeah,
fingers crossed,
if,
because it looks amazing.
if anyone from Xbox or from Ninja Theory ever listens to this, please do it with the classic 90s voiceover guy for trailers and going, coming this holiday season. I want that, please.
I miss those trailers, man.
Oh, I do too.
Um, This today, breaking news: Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles graphic novel, The Last Ronin, is becoming an ARPG. And some of the comparisons have been, anyways, pretty high praise. I forget what game they said they were mirroring. Oh, I remember
God
now.
of War.
God of War, yes, that little indie title that nobody's heard of, but. I hate that. That's a huge disservice to any game that's being made. You don't compare it to God of War. It's just wrong. Even if you're going for that gameplay, just describe the gameplay and leave those words out of the comparison. But a lot of people seem really excited about this, and one of the aspects of this is a darker version of our favorite pizza eating reptiles, right?
Oh yeah.
Do you know about
Mhm.
this? Has anybody read the comics and the backstory to this, or even the darker
No.
turtles stuff?
Does anybody want spoilers for the first issue?
We're gonna mark that right now for anybody watching or listening, and just go ahead and skip ahead. We're gonna say like maybe 60 seconds.
So yeah,
And
this is by the
Well,
end of the first issue of this series.
yeah, let us hear
Um,
how dark it gets.
so they follow a turtle that's using all the weapons. Um, they only show this one turtle, and by the end of it, it's revealed that all the other turtles were killed. Splinter was killed, and he's out to get revenge. And the only one left alive is Michelangelo.
wow.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not your 80s cartoon turtles.
That's the end of the first comic book.
that's the end of the first issue in the series. Yep.
Right.
So everyone else has been killed by the Foot, and it's just him, and it's a really dark take on it, and I loved it. Um, so
Wow.
I really want this. When they said God of War, it got me excited because this would be a perfect third person like narrative title to drive that type of story.
Okay.
And I would love to see something like that. They could have just came out and said third person narrative title, similar, because they said God of War was an inspiration for how they want to do it. Um, and I couldn't be more excited. I hope they pull it off because it's an absolutely fantastic story to do. Just don't ruin the story. Don't make it a
Wow.
co-op game and Leonardo comes back or
um,
something.
in the midst of Lions weighed in, and they said, my brother bought me this comic recently, and as a fan of gritty 80s action movies and comics in general, this one is really a knock out of the park. I highly recommend the comic. It's very similar vibes to Running Man, Escape from New York. Throw on the adult versions of the Ninja Turtles. It's a good time. So I hope the ARPG is solid as well. So a lot of people have strong memories, or even recent memories in this case, were tied to the comics. And like I said, it's not it's kind of the same story in a lot of ways as the 80s cartoon, but it's a little bit of like an alternate reality, isn't it?
Yeah. But
Mm.
if anybody played through the recent, co-op side scroller Ninja Turtles game, they go through dimensional space, so it's
Yeah,
it's
this is
it's
very
another
true.
multiverse game.
Um, Uncle Bands had a great comment, and they said cowabunga. So just adding that in
There we
there.
go.
I
That's the
agree.
right answer.
That is the right
Mikey
answer,
is not
right?
cheerful though.
Oh, Mikey's not cheerful in these. No, I mean, it sounds like if
No.
everybody else died, I'd probably be a little sad too,
Mikey's
man.
Yeah.
Mikey's the most cheerful turtle.
Yeah. To call out the orange bandana
Oh wow.
that I'm
Oh my
wearing.
god, I'm putting it all together now. Do you you have some nunchucks
I
back there?
yeah, I saw that, and I
Look,
Michelangelo's always been my favorite turtle
I,
because
d-
of
I
the
don't know if
Mikey.
Oh, I'm a
I don't know if you know
Donatello
this, but
guy. Tell me that the other two have the turtles covered. Who's your favorite turtle, Kevin?
Donatello is
Oh,
mine for
Um,
sure.
I don't know. I mean, I like them all. Leonardo, he was the smart guy, but like Michelangelo was just like the bro, like
Nobody
pizza,
picks
board and
Raph, man.
brat.
Raph was just a dick.
Yeah, Raphael, yeah, was just the teen angst, all in one. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I liked them all. They all had like individual characters, but I would probably say Michelangelo. He was
All right.
always the chill guy.
All right,
I
my
don't
dream
I
is
don't
dashed of having the four turtles reunite in a podcast as humans 20
Leonardo
years
and
later.
Raphael got
I
the
don't know if you know this, but when it released in the UK when I was like, I don't know, 13 or something, um, it wasn't called Ninja Turtles here. It
Oh my
was
god, what was it called?
Do you not know this?
No, I don't.
It was Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Why would they do that?
ick.
It has yeah, well,
Well, the
I don't
war's
know. I
back
mean,
on. We're coming back over. I'll be there in a bit, Anthony.
UK hates ninjas.
no, it was just that child thing. They were they were pitching it to children, and it seemed a bit aggressive. I suppose I don't know.
I mean,
But
that's why they say the Philosopher's Stone for the first Harry Potter book in the UK, and then
well,
in
that
America, they're like
yeah,
Philosopher's Stone doesn't sound that cool, so they went with
so the
What did they go
because
with? I'm not versed in Harry Potter.
the Sorcerer's
The
Stone
Sorcerer's Stone.
Okay.
is the US. She
Yeah,
changed
like
it to that because they said that in the US you wouldn't. I read this last week. No offense, guys. They said that in the US you wouldn't kind of get to grips with what a philosopher, but that
oh
term
dear Lord,
basically.
you know they're
Yeah.
not
So
wrong. We're crazy over here. It's fine.
yeah. So yeah, she wrote the Philosopher's Stone, but yeah, Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. I'll just YouTube the UK version, and
Hey,
the theme tune's on, and it's so I didn't even know they were Ninja Turtles till like years later.
you know what? I was confused to what Dragon Quest was for ages because I knew it as Dragon Warrior. It took me way too long to put together that those were a continuation of the games that I grew up with as a child. So weird things happen like that. New to Xbox this week, Ni no Kuni 2. Nino Nu. Somebody clean that up for me.
Ni no Kuni.
Thank you so much.
You-
I
you-
played a
you
little bit
had
of the
it.
first one. Yeah, I actually remember being like, "Hey, I found this game, guys, on this very podcast," and I was playing the first one, and I was like, hey, "I don't know if anyone's really heard of this or anything." And then Mikey was just like, "Dude, everybody knows about that. That's a great game." And I was like, "Oh, okay, thanks." So that was my takeaway of it. Xbox creator Seamus Blackley revealed that he talked to Microsoft about a classic console idea. This would be something akin to the mini SNES, or I think PlayStation even made a PS1 version, right?
I have a mini SNES here next to me, sealed. I bought
Do
it,
ya?
and I never even opened it.
Right,
It's
so
just on
I've
my
heard
shelf.
that you can do some wild things with those. That it might be a little
Yeah,
It's the
yeah.
only reason I would get one. You could turn it
underhanded.
into a little
or-
emulator.
Yeah. It sounds great though. Would you be interested in like a OG Xbox? Because I got to be honest, I really wouldn't.
It sounds cool, doesn't it? But like, what would you?
You know what I'd do with it? I'd put it
Would
on
you?
the shelf.
Yeah,
There it
but
is.
just like I've done with my SNES. Yeah.
And like with my mini fridge behind me.
There you go. You don't got a can of
I-
pop in there or something?
No, I don't even have it on. It's actually
that's-
louder than my Xbox.
Oh god.
Yeah, I
you
heard
try
it
to
has
play
some pretty
Diablo on
crazy
it, man,
fan
because that thing
issues.
might launch out of the house.
Oh yeah, the fan is very loud.
Yeah,
but that's
I've heard that.
with these types of mini fridges. It's not like an actual fridge. It just uses fan to cool it. So it's not actually meant to be plugged in 24/7 either.
It was
something
always
cool-
kind of gimmicky, wasn't it? Like it's just kind of a collectible. We knew that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's something cool about little consoles, though. Do you remember, like I think you just mentioned the little PlayStation that and PlayStation 2 that they released, but like while the consoles were active. Do you remember that, or is this am I dreaming?
are you talking about the PlayStation 2 thin?
Yeah, and it was super tiny and it was
Oh
amazing.
wow!
Yeah.
Toward the end
Yeah.
of the life
Yeah.
span, right?
Can
They made
you
that
it's
little like. Yeah, I
can you
remember that a
imagine
little
them
bit.
releasing like an Xbox One now, but like I don't know,
Man,
but it was
you know what?
really small.
Well,
Yes,
that was a big turn of the century moment for making parts even smaller.
Yeah.
We're hitting an actual physical limitation nowadays with how small we can make transistors and such, and the GPU and the silicone involved in the CPU for the Xbox. Making it any significantly smaller to that point would be impossible right now, because we're nearing. I don't know about these chips, but I believe 5 nanometer transistors are just finally starting to come out, or they will be coming out for AMD. And that's like near the theoretical limit of what you can
Oh.
do. So
Cool.
like at this point, they're actually, if you ever hear about the words infinity fabric or something like that, they're actually taking basically 2 units and ribboning them together essentially. So that's why GPUs nowadays are getting so huge, because they're just doubling what's there.
They can't pack it in anymore, so they need more real estate. Pretty soon you're gonna have GPUs sticking out of the back of your computer by about a foot or something, man. It's getting crazy.
Yep, until something changes the industry like quantum computing. But
Well,
even
I
that's
mean, what
not
about
really useful for
SLI?
gaming.
Let's link them back up again. Let's bring it down. I want 4 of them running together.
I would rather have a 2-port card that sat vertically rather than taking up the horizontal space that my 3080 does.
I could 100% understand that, especially if you're into like building cool builds and that kind of stuff, and you care about form. I've always been a fan of small form factors, so that kind of stuff is appealing to me. Did anybody play Resident Evil 4, the remake?
I was just going to bring that up. It's
Oh,
been
good.
very
Play the
well
demo.
received.
You did play the demo?
I did.
The chainsaw.
Yeah, it was classic Resident Evil. I
Yeah.
loved it, but I still haven't played Dead Space yet, so I'm not
There you
buying
go.
it yet.
What are we looking at? Is this a $70 game?
Is
Yeah, it's
it?
$70.
Is it
Oh,
for
yeah.
a remake? Yeah, I mean, a remaster. That's pretty steep. I'll probably be waiting. I did watch some other people playing it. It seemed
Got
okay.
great reviews. The
Yeah, it
reviews are
looks
great.
fantastic.
I mean, for a game that holds up today, though, like if it's a great game, it looks fantastic. It looks like a new game. I would argue the 70 title is more justified there than say The Last of Us Part 1, but
Okay.
because that's a a remake that wasn't much of a remake versus a game that's almost entirely different now. But it's
It's a
very
remake of a remaster,
remake of a
We're getting a
remaster.
little silly with it,
pretty
right?
much.
But they've done a lot of good changes in Resident Evil 4 from what I've seen, and I thought the gameplay was very slick, felt much more modern than when I played it originally back on what did I even play it on? I think I played it on PlayStation 2. Man, I'm going way back now.
No, as you get older, it gets harder, man. Let me tell you.
I think Resident Evil 4, wasn't it? It was on GameCube, wasn't it? I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I never owned a GameCube. Don't hate me.
That's okay. That was a kind of a miss. It was a weird generation. Nintendo first party really delivered, but they lost third party support. There was a point where EA wasn't even like putting their sports games on the thing.
Man.
So
It was on PlayStation 2.
there we go.
Okay,
Sorry,
I'm
I
not
was waiting for
crazy.
the confirmation.
Yeah, but I was Googling.
I saw you. I was like, just give him a second here. He'll come up with it.
Wow, it's been
Good
that long.
old Google.
So that for me, that's a remake.
Yeah.
A couple generations ago, not something that you made at the end of PlayStation 3's lifespan and then remastered it,
Rehashed it for
re-released it
another
for PlayStation
cash in.
4.
Hey,
Can't wait for
Mikey.
PlayStation 6, The Last of Us Part 1.1.
When you said Google, you meant Bing, right?
Oh yeah, Bing.
There you go.
I'm still trying to get into that Chat GPT powered Bing beta.
You're not in it yet? Yeah, I mean, you're not
No.
missing much, man. But those free reward points, that's where it's at.
I'm
Yeah,
so close
agreed.
to my $100 card.
Oh my god, I just I do it $5 at a time. I just buy this and that.
Me
but
too.
I've seen
$100.
people finance their consoles with it.
I'm at
Yeah.
82,000 points.
There were some people in our sub that bought a Series X when with it. With
Yeah,
the
I
reward
love those
points, yeah.
people. I used to watch those shows where people would like do the extreme couponing. Like it's like whatever. I'm into it, man. Get crazy.
Was there any other stories this week?
There's not a whole lot else going
I
on.
don't think so.
we've kind of done it. There's a new search on the console for insider build. I think they've improved that a little bit. That Larry tweeted about. And that's kind of it. I think we've hit all the big ones, so we can kind of do like our custom classic closing, right? Like around the horn kind of thing. We'll send it back to Kevin and
Yeah,
see
I'm
where
pretty
he
sure
takes
we're
us.
almost at 2 hours. So
Oh God.
probably one of the longest shows we've done.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
If you're stuck somewhere, you found the right place to hang out for a while.
Thank you for those that are still here. That's
Absolutely.
That's an
And
insanely long time.
or listening on podcasts or wherever. We hope we helped you pass some time. We know that we're some goofballs up here, but well, let's do it.
Kev?
I've sent it to
What's
Kevin,
going on?
but there he is. Oh, hey, we're going to ask you what you've been playing or what you plan to play the next week.
Oh, I'll just keep it short and sweet. Diablo 2.
2.
Amazing.
Oh, not Diablo 2. Diablo 4. I do want to get back into Diablo 2. It is on sale, or it was on sale, but I do want to get back to it. But yeah, Diablo 4, pretty much that's all I'm going to be doing.
Can I say this was a big debate in my house after 4, as my daughter wanted more of it, and we were like 3 or 2, because I do have 2, and I never played 2 in its heyday. I was playing World of Warcraft. Completely missed
2 is mechanically much different.
Yes, I did play a little bit of it, and I discovered that. I feel like 2 is more similar to 4 than 3 is similar to 4. Is that?
I will find out when I play 3
Yeah.
or 4.
That's right. We'll get your takes on that next week. I feel like the talent system and maybe the gameplay a little bit is a little similar to that. For those that don't know, Diablo 2 was probably the pinnacle of the series today anyway. 3 was a little bit of a miss, but there was a time where you could go on eBay and spend $1,000 on an item for Diablo 2 back in the day because it was just so darn popular. So That's interesting. I guess my point was is I didn't know where to go, so I took her to 3 because I was familiar with it. But I feel like as a Diablo fan, like I should at least play through Diablo 2 once, right? So we'll see if I get there before it comes out. Mikey,
I'm gonna be playing a lot of Diablo. Um,
I'm
I
so stoked
did
for you.
I did beat State of Decay 2.
I just saw that today. You got 2400 out of 2400 on the gamer
Oh my
score.
god.
Took me 17
Congratulations, man.
took me 17 days.
That is a
Um,
real. That's a good one.
I
Well
will
done.
say about 4 of those days were AFK because you had to hit 100 days survive with the community, and I just let it run because I'm like, I'm done. I don't want to. I'm not gonna play 4 more days. It's the
Oh, dude,
hardest
I'm putting a
achievement game I've
huge
ever done in my
asterisk
life.
next to your 2400,
Really?
man. This is not legit. I'm kidding.
Um, just the amount of time you have to dedicate, 'cause you have to beat 343 waves of this horde mode that they have, and every game takes about 50 minutes if you beat it. So, and there's only 7 rounds in a game, so
Wow.
it's a lot. But so now that I'm done with that, I'm gonna try to go back like after the beta's over, and mop up Witcher achievements for the base game, and just do a little bit more completions. And then I've been watching Hitman speedruns.
Wow, that took a left turn.
Yeah. So I've been playing Hitman. How many hours do I have in Hitman now? Because I've just been
Wait,
loving Hitman out of nowhere.
are you into speed running, dude? Are you really speed running this?
I'm not speed running. I've got 4 hours. No,
Okay.
I'll probably never speed run like them.
Okay.
I watched this half-hour video where this guy just showed these like he made his own speed run challenge with 5 targets, and he progressively makes it harder. Like all these people get better and better. It starts at like 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and the last guy does it in like 39 seconds. At one point, some guy threw a violin down on the ground and then shot the violin into pieces, or hit it with a C4 and it launched him straight in the air 300 feet. And then as he's falling down, he snipes all 5 of the targets and then escapes. I
I-
saw some of the craziest stuff ever, so I'm like, I'm gonna get Hitman again, and I'm loving it. I'm
you know,
playing through,
Hitman. It looks an amazing graphical experience. I remember that blew me away when
and
I
Hitman 3 is on Game Pass, which comes with 1, 2, and 3.
yeah.
So I'm playing through 1 again,
Yeah, you really
and
can't go wrong with that.
it's a lot of fun. And I can't wait to get to 3 to see some of the newer levels and stuff. But that's probably gonna be my next go-to. I tried to mop up Conan Exiles as well, but there's actually I could complain about that, but
I've got
there's a glitch with one of the achievements.
oh man,
That's a
I got one
killer.
achievement left to get in that game on the base, and I have to stand on somebody's head and kill them. I was like,
I'll do it with you because
I
that's one of the
can't
2
do
achievements
this.
I have left to do. You want to
Let's
do
do
it?
it. Well, yeah,
All
let's
right.
do
There
it.
you go. We got a connection here right
I
on the podcast.
I'm gonna play Diablo, but I'm just looking at my game. I'm 16,000 off 600,000 gamer score, so I'm gonna try in the next
Whoa.
few days to get 16,000 gamer score.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
a
You can
lot
only
of a
post
lot
that
of the
on Sundays.
games,
I just want to remind you.
a lot of the games that I have in my library have all just received gamer score updates, so I can't see it being that difficult. You know, all these gamer score games that we have
I don't know
from
what you're talking about.
no, you know, like there's they must update them. There must be a set date throughout the year when these games can update because they've all done it at once. So like loads of the Zissalon games have added an extra 1,000 to grab, and
Yeah, I'm scrolling
some
through right now
others,
to look.
tons of them, absolute tons of them suddenly have an extra 1,000. So without spending any more money, I can probably grab quite a bit. So that's what I'll be doing.
Nice. Mikey got me into the whole speedrunning kick there for a moment, and I was really excited. I'm a huge, not a speedrunner, but I am hugely into speedrunners and the history of certain games. There's a great YouTube channel called Summoning Salt where they break down the history of like Ninja Gaiden, for example, or Super Mario Brothers, or all these classic games, and when they first started having times logged and how it improved by 30 seconds, 1 second. Like he goes through all the runs and then somebody will make like this big breakthrough. You know, they'll discover like, whoa, you can do this, and it shaves like 30 seconds off the time. Anyways, I'm way into that stuff. So, but
It's
when
fascinating. It's
it,
fascinating. Have you seen the Mario Kart video
there,
where
yeah,
the lap time remained for like 15 years, and then somebody discovered they could just get through this wall in Rainbow Road,
I was gonna say it's the
it's like,
Rainbow Road, right?
yeah, it's just it's but
Yeah,
somebody
people
did
are
a
jumping
huge
off the
breakdown
track,
video.
like they're
Yeah,
going
but
like
somebody did a breakdown video with the whole story of this thing, and it's so fascinating to watch.
I
Of
don't know if
all
it's the same creator, but I'm gonna plug Summoning Salt. I cannot.
Is that the guy that does gold? He used to do GoldenEye runs.
Yeah, he's just as far as I'm concerned. No, Summoning Salt is just a YouTube creator. Are you talking to Anthony or me?
no,
To
no, yeah,
you.
Yeah.
yeah,
No,
the YouTube
he just does
creator.
he does these great, fantastic. They're documentaries and with graphs and gameplay
Oh,
footage. I think
Yeah,
there's
it is him. It is him. Yeah, yeah.
yep, there's a
It's
speedrunner named Arcus who is another. He's still on Twitch. You can watch him every single night, and he speedruns classic games, and it's just really fascinating if you're into not just retro gaming, but just perfecting a game. It's insane to run because they have this memorization where they're going through
but
like
they
a
also
level on
talk, don't they?
Castlevania.
They're like streaming. They're also talking to like the people. They're watching the live chat. They're responding,
Oh, sure.
and he's doing things that you would never be able to do in like Super Mario.
Yeah, and
Doing
it's
like
super
entire.
casual until they get to the last level, man, and they're on the pace. And then all of a sudden you see that sweat start coming out. They get real quiet. It's like chat completely disappears, man, and they're right there trying to get it. So, anyways, I know it's a small segment, but speedrunning games is is something I find just absolutely fascinating.
So what you doing,
Oh,
Jake? Diablo 4
Go
all
for it,
week.
Mikey.
this is the guy I was talking about for speedrunning channels. So you brought up Summoning Salt. I'm gonna check him out. Check out Carl Jobst.
Okay, I'll add that. How do you spell
Um,
Jobst?
Well, it's KARL for Carl, and then JOBST, all
Okay.
one word. Carl Jobst. And he used to also speedrun. He's a European, does English videos, but he has a lot of really great videos that actually got me into watching some speedrunners. Like he'll talk about the biggest cheater in Guitar Hero history was finally caught, and it's got 6 million
Oh
views.
gosh, yeah.
I've seen that video. It's great.
We're getting back to King of Kong stuff, but so anyways, what I'll be playing is Diablo. Just a lot of Diablo.
4.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna play Diablo 4 on Sunday with my daughter, who is the one that made it to 25 with me. We're gonna do the Necromancer Druid thing. She's a huge Druid aficionado, so that's it. And as soon as that closes down, we're going right back to Diablo 3. And you know what? I might make it to Diablo 2 after that. It's just we are fully invested and 100% full steam ahead on it. So that's it for me. Any parting words, Kevin over there?
Did
there
Kevin say
anything
what he was
left?
gonna
Nope.
play?
Kevin? Oh no, we
Yep,
always forget
Diablo
someone.
4.
Oh yeah.
Diablo 4.
No, I already said
Oh.
Diablo 4. I was
All right.
short and sweet with mine.
Oh, fine.
Some of us just like to talk.
Jeez,
Sorry.
that was
Diablo
underhanded.
4.
I'm kidding.
I was ready. I got Diablo 4 booted up, ready to go.
Meanwhile, we did like a 3-minute segue on speedrunning, man. I don't know what happened to us, but we should be more like Kevin. So thanks. Can I throw in some extra stuff here? This is new for us. We've never just done this exclusively on YouTube. Those of you that are still listening on Spotify and YouTube and all the other places you've been subscribed, you're still going to find us just as normal. What we're missing out on here is you. We want to find more ways to get you involved. We had Q tonight stopping by in the YouTube chat, and that was great to bounce comments off and get some feedback on what's happening. We want more of that. So we are even open to having guest hosts. If you are a regular member, if you have been with us before and you want to come up, you don't have to be on camera. That's fine. We can bring you in with audio only, and we'd be happy to talk about the week's Xbox news with you. We're going to keep doing this. We love it, right? So it's just, I can't thank everybody enough, including my co-host up here.
That'd be super cool to get some people up with us. If we can do that.
100% agree. So that's it. Here's your last chance.
Done.
We're done. Everybody get out of here. I'm going to go play some Diablo, man. Have a great night all. Kevin?
Bye-bye.
Yep, take it easy,
Adios.
guys. Happy gaming.
There it is. We're done. See ya.
Bye-bye.